Hello, beautiful souls. I hope you guys are doing well. And I want to thank you all for being here and for all your beautiful comments. You guys are amazing, and I'm so happy we're building this small and this truly powerful community of monadic divine feminines. And I want to say that, being a divine feminine is, again, words can't describe it, right? Anyway, I hope you guys like today's topic. Um, the divine masculine's unspoken language of devotion, right? So, have you ever wondered how a truly devoted divine masculine expresses his deepest love without saying a word? It's not through roses, confessions, or grand cinematic gestures that we see on social media. It's through something far quieter, the energy of presence. Like when you were like cooking together, or doing something together, even though it might have been just the bubble phase. You see, the bubble phase is what becomes stable union eventually. That I can promise based on my own experience, right? It's through something far quieter, the energy of presence, and that's the energy of presence he gives us during when we meet, when we reconnect again on earth in real time. And that's what continues into stable union, the energy of presence, protection, and unwavering constancy that transcends words. So this discourse is about decoding that silence, that sacred, unspoken language through which our beloved divine masculine communicates devotion, commitment, and soul anchored love. You know, there are many um, definitions out there, about this and that. But our channel, the focus is on twin flames, real divine masculines, and real monadic divine masculines. So yeah, and you have to notice that a lot of things, especially now, we are going through a period where everything, age of Aquarius, that's the thing, right? Age of Aquarius is about the age of information. So we are in a period where the distortions are at an all-time high right now. So that's why I always say, guys, external teachers are only meant to inspire your internal teachers. So only take what resonates. And remember, all of our journeys are very, 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 very unique because we are from all over the star systems on very sacred, confidential missions. So, really, and remember, there's a lot of not so good energies always trying to come and disrupt our work, disrupt our mission. So always connect back to God, connect back to cosmic consciousness. God is with us always. So really, stay strong, everyone. Stay strong. That's the most important thing. All right. So that's why today's topic is dedicated to all of us divine feminines, because our divine masculine's unspoken language of devotion has always been around. Sometimes when we are going through that cruel separation, we are just not able to connect to those moments. Remember the first time you reconnected again on earth, how hours were being spent without any kind of thought. It was a literal bubble that was like in 70 and 80, right in the 3D, be it cooking, be it hiking, be it scuba diving, be it traveling together. But those months, that kind of ascertance that you are, that reminds you, it's more of like helping you to remember you are the divine feminine. That moment, that is the beauty of it. And even then, you'd have noticed how our divine masculine is so soft, pure, and in the moment, and that is what the monadic twin flame journey is about. It's often so soft and subtle, and it's more than words, it's more than language. It is in the energies, it's in the moment. And that's why our divine masculine communicates devotion, commitment, and soul anchored love through presence, that unspoken language So that's why we're going to look beyond grand gestures, the foundation of devotion. Our modern world worships the spectacular. We have been taught that love must look like sweeping declarations, surprise proposals, or social media proof. But divine union operates on a subtler current, one that's not always visible to the eye, yet unmistakably felt by the soul. So, let's talk about the monadic divine masculine archetype. All right. It's the principle of structure, stability, and sacred presence. It's the frequency that says, we can rest here, I'm holding this space. When our divine masculine loves, it's rarely loud. It's actually very, very soft and subtle, you know. Our divine masculine's love moves through initiation, through quiet correction, through the invisible decisions that keep our shared field stable. That's why it is not fireworks. It's always a feeling of home because he's the ground. He's like literally the foundation, right? The problem is society rarely values this kind of devotion because we have been conditioned to measure love through attention, not intention. Measure love through attention, not intention. Through what is seen, not what is built. And so many divine feminines miss the miracle happening before them. That's why many wounded divine feminines don't pass the performance stage, right? Many divine feminines mistake quiet devotion for indifference, consistency for boredom, and emotional composure for detachment. But to truly understand the divine masculine, we must attune to the frequency beneath words, to the current that flows beneath every restrained expression, every thoughtful pause, every unseen sacrifice. This is where devotion begins, not in the noise, but in the stillness. So, the language of presence and protection. When the divine masculine is devoted, his energy anchors. His presence itself becomes communication. Our divine masculine listens not to reply but to understand. He stays not because it's easy but because something within him recognizes the sacred duty of holding. Presence is our divine masculine's ultimate love language, and protection, that's his poetry. So, our divine masculine doesn't need to say, I love you 10 times a day. His actions speak. I'm watching over what we are building. That form of romance is subtle, checking the locks before bed, for example, bringing me water, you know, um, making sure our home is safe, making sure, the curtains are drawn, the windows are closed, anticipating danger before it arrives. So it's not control, it's energetic guardianship. Our divine masculine doesn't just protect us, he protects the field of union. That's why in separation, as divine feminines, we go through a total nervous system collapse because it just doesn't make sense. But when you actually get into stable union, when you ask your DM, you'll be able to explain when he was in a state, being the wounded divine masculine, the reason why he wasn't coming together because his ultimate his ultimate duty that's instilled within him is to protect us. So when he's in his wounded divine masculine, he thinks that being away from him is the protection. You see where I'm coming from, right? So our divine masculine's mind may appear pragmatic, but his part of the soul is deeply attuned to stability. He knows instinctively that love without protection collapses into chaos. So he shields the container. The divine masculine's devotion forms reliability. He does what he says he will do. He keeps time. He remembers the details you thought he would forget. So each consistent act, each callback, each follow through is a metaphysical promise. You can depend on him. That is the promise our divine masculine is bringing forth. He might not speak of fate or destiny. He might even say things like doesn't believe in it all, but every moment he shows up emotionally, practically, spiritually, every time, especially in the bubble phase, when you're transitioning into that separation phase, that in between phase, every time you called him, every time you wanted to speak to him, every time he made space for you to speak to him, those moments count, because it shows that he was trying. Even in his own anxiety, he was willing to listen, right? That's what our divine masculine does. He reinforces the gravitational field that keeps our connection alive. It is a devotion that doesn't need to shout because it knows. So action speak louder, subtle acts of service. In the divine masculine's world, love is a verb, not a declaration, but an ongoing calibration of effort, responsibility, and silent consideration. The world may not notice when he drives across town to fix something for you. No one applauds when he reorganizes his schedule so that we can rest. But these are the hidden temples where his devotion resides, literally, postponing with his friends because we need our divine masculine more. Little things. Acts of service are not servitude. Remember, they are soul choreography. That's why our well-being matters. That's why our divine masculine would say things like, your well-being matters to me more than my convenience. Literally, this is the real divine masculine, guys, right? A truly awakened divine masculine anticipates our needs without invading our autonomy. Sorry about that. A real monadic divine masculine senses our exhaustion, and I'm speaking these through experience, guys. Our overwhelm, our subtle energetic dips. And he quietly compensates. So that's why he would bring us food before even we realize we're hungry. Like example, you're working the whole day. Literally, he would have cooked lunch or he could have cooked dinner. He would come back from work early just to eat something. That is the true divine masculine. But it only comes after stabilization. That in between period is the period where neither should hold any kind of judgment. So that's why our divine masculine might handle a task so we can focus on our calling. He might stay up researching something just because we once mentioned it in passing. He doesn't do this for recognition. He does it because the act itself is sacred service. Our divine masculine's devotion also shows how he champions our growth. Our divine masculine doesn't compete with us. He invests in our expansion. He celebrates our victories, even when his ego wavers. He encourages our independence, even if it momentarily distances us from him. Because real devotion is not about ownership, it's about freedom. It's the willingness to hold love loosely enough to let it breathe, yet firmly enough to keep it safe. Remember, our divine masculine honors our boundaries. He doesn't punish our no. He understands that respect is not courtesy, it's the highest proof of commitment. Every boundary he honors becomes an altar where the sacred, divine, awakening feminine, where we can exhale. And every time he chooses integrity over impulse, he strengthens the architecture of our union. So that's why, So I want to bring this discourse to the unspoken side, eye contact and body language. So when words fall away, energy speaks, right? Look into the eyes of your divine masculine in love and you will see lifetimes. It's not attraction, it's recognition. A remembrance that bypasses logic and touches our soul directly. Our divine masculine gaze says, when his throat chakra cannot. I see you, I know you, I am you. So deep eye contact is not always sustained. Sometimes it's fleeting because it's very hard to make eye contact sometimes, right? Because what he feels in that moment is so immense to hold. It's the overflow of devotion that language cannot contain. Remember, our divine masculine's body mirrors ours, not to mimic but to merge. Our divine masculine posture subtly orients towards us in a crowd. He adjusts his pace to match our stride. He instinctively places himself between you and potential harm, often without realizing, like little acts. Like example, you're hiking and you're going to ask for directions. Your divine masculine is immediately going to come and stand next to you. It's not something he thinks. It's like he's protecting. Oh, the person you're asking directions from, is that person safe? Every time, even the way when he's standing next to you, or when you guys are like, shopping in a mall or getting groceries, our divine masculine is always, always, always protecting us. It's the overflow of devotion, you see, that I'm talking about, that language cannot contain. That's why he's instinctively like protecting us. These micro movements are not habits. These are movements of the soul, of our galactic lives, remnants of our galactic lives. Even his silence carries messages. When he chooses not to argue, it's often not apathy, it's restraint born of care. When he withdraws momentarily, it may be because he's transmuting energy internally so he doesn't project it onto us. Every unspoken act is a frequency exchange. Every sigh, protective glance, every lingering touch is a line of poetry written in motion. And if you're attuned, you will hear it. The silent symphony of devotion that plays between his actions. So, how do you recognize and reciprocate? One of the greatest sources of disconnect between the divine feminine and divine masculine lies not in love's absence, but in its translation. The feminine often communicates devotion through emotion, words, affection, emotional availability. The masculine communicates through action, consistency, protection, silence, stability. Both are valid. But one but when one speaks a different language and the other speaks a different language, love can be misunderstood. So the first step towards harmony is recognition. To see his devotion not through how you would express it, but through how he naturally does. When he fixes the thing you broke without command, that's devotion. When he sits beside you in silence after a hard day, that's presence. When he respects your need for solitude without guilt tripping you, that's love. The divine feminine deepens the feel when she notices, when she says, I see how you're holding space for me. It tells him his efforts are felt. So reciprocation doesn't mean mirroring his gestures. It means meeting his energy with gratitude and emotional transparency. If he builds the house of love, our vulnerability furnishes it, you see. So together we form a complete ecosystem of devotion, logic and intuition, stability and flow, structure and softness. So practical ways to cultivate this balance. Acknowledge presence. Really thank him for being steady even when words are few. Respond, respond, respond. Don't react. Honor his timing instead of demanding immediate expression. Reflect his energy. Offer gentle reassurance through small gestures, a touch, a note, a moment of genuine appreciation. Devotion thrives where understanding lives. That's why when both counterparts recognize each other's unspoken language, the union matures from fantasy into embodied love. So, the sacred psychology of his silence, right? So, many of us divine feminines might mistake quietness for detachment, but to the divine masculine, silence is sacred. It's when he regulates, integrates, and recalibrates. So, inside his stillness, he's not ignoring us, he's holding us energetically while re establishing his own center. His silence often means he cares too deeply to risk misspeaking. The masculine psyche has been conditioned for centuries to equate emotion with weakness. So when love arrives in its rawest form, when our divine masculine meets us, when he meets his divine feminine who sees through his armor, he retreats not from us, but from his own unhealed history. Devotion then is not in his eloquence, it is in his return. Every time he comes back after facing himself, his love has evolved, his consistency through cycles, even if punctuated by pauses, is proof of inner growth. And every time he chooses to communicate, even imperfectly, he's defying lifetimes of programming that taught him silence was safer than vulnerability. So that's why, in higher dimensional terms, our divine masculine's devotion acts as the stabilizing vector of the twin flame field. When the divine feminine emits the frequency of flow, he anchors form. That's why I'm always saying, guys, go with the flow, right? So that's why when our divine masculine chooses reliability over impulse, he transmits coherence into the shared Merkaba, allowing us divine feminines to expand without destabilizing. That's why our divine masculine's unspoken devotion creates the energetic scaffolding through which divine union just happens. Without his grounded presence, our feminine frequency might remain ethereal, so without our openness, his structure becomes rigid. So together we form the sacred geometry of devotion, expansion balanced by containment. Hence, his devotion is not sentimental, it's functional on a cosmic level. It maintains the integrity of our joint field. Each unexpressed act of loyalty, each protective instinct, each quiet gesture of care weaves electromagnetic stability into our shared grid. So, in this sense, the divine masculine's unspoken love is actually the most powerful stabilizer of the third energy. It may look mundane, a reminder, a repair, a plan, but at soul level, it's an anchoring operation keeping your light body coherent. So, the evolution of his devotion, right? At the start of the journey, the divine masculine's devotion may appear inconsistent. He might oscillate between approach and retreat, between feeling the immensity of the connection and fearing its implication. But devotion matures as consciousness expands. At first, it's unconscious, instinctive protection. Then it becomes conscious, deliberate action. Finally, it becomes divine, surrendered service. By the final stage, our divine masculine's devotion is not to you alone, but to the mission you share, right? He begins to understand that loving you is part of his cosmic purpose, that every act of reliability, every step towards integrity is not merely personal, it's actually planetary. In the highest form, our divine masculine's devotion turns into guardianship of the sacred. He becomes the protector of love itself. And in that moment, he no longer loves us out of desire or duty. He loves us out of soul remembrance. So that's when our role in drawing forth his devotion comes. The divine feminine awakens devotion not by demanding it, but by embodying receptivity. When we rest in our worth, our protective nature activates naturally. But if the divine feminine chases or collapses into neediness, his energy becomes defensive. Not because our divine masculine doesn't love us, but because his field becomes chaotic, right? So that's why literal chasing, like literally, if he's saying, don't follow me, and you follow him, that's what happens, right? So to call forth his unspoken devotion, as divine feminine, we must first honor our own. Our self devotion becomes the tuning fork that summons our divine masculine's higher expression. When we set boundaries, our divine masculine feels safe to lead. When we trust our divine masculine's timing, he feels respected enough to reveal emotion. When we value consistency over drama, he aligns to that vibration. Thus, devotion is a co-creation. It is not earned or demanded. It's evoked through resonance. So that's why, for many divine feminines, learning to perceive the masculine subtle devotion is an initiation in itself. It's seeing the invisible, right? It requires shifting from emotional dependency to energetic discernment, to see beyond what is said into what he held, to realize that his delayed text was not neglect but nervous system recalibration. To know that his practical help was a form of love language. It's more intimate than poetry, right? So this is where, as the divine feminine, we evolve from longing to knowing. We are no longer measuring love by how it looks, but how it feels in the field. We sense the steadiness beneath the silence. We perceive the invisible architecture of care behind our divine masculine's logic. And when we meet him from that place, our love becomes multidimensional, no longer dependent on words, but alive in every breath. So ultimately, remember, devotion is mirrored, right? Our divine masculine's unspoken acts are reflection of our unseen prayers. His protection mirrors our surrender, his reliability mirrors our trust, his restraint mirrors our emotional mastery. In the mirrored dance, both evolve because our DM learns to feel and we learn to see. He learns to express through action, we learn patience through observation. Together, we create a rhythm that transcends polarity, a frequency of sacred partnership where we both love as God loves, steadily, silently, and endlessly, and infinitely. So, right? So, devotion doesn't always sound like I love you, guys. It sometimes sounds like the hum of an engine waiting outside while you finish your dream. Sometimes it looks like a quiet glance that checks if you're safe. Sometimes it feels like calm energy beside you in the storm. So, our divine masculine's unspoken language of devotion is not about performance, it's about presence. It's the invisible assurance that says, even if I can't say it, I'm here. Even if I falter, I return. His devotion is not ornamental, it's architectural. It holds the union upright when the world shakes. And when we can finally read that language, when we can see through the subtle, we'll realize that we were never unloved. We were simply loved in a language that required our higher self to translate. So, if this teaching has helped you see a connection, to see your divine masculine a bit differently, remember, devotion is energy, not performance. Learn to see the unspoken, and you will never doubt love again. So, if you guys are ready to go deeper, you can book a private session with me. All my sessions are one on one, conducted live via Zoom. And guys, the 111 portal is up on the 1st of November. So if you guys want to book a spot, book early so that you can get your desired time slot. It's conducted over video call or remotely, it's up to you. And the earlier you book, you will get your preferable time slot. All right, with that, I've also introduced some amazing healings and activations. Do check out my website. And with that, I'll see you all again soon. Take care and love you all always. And thank you guys for being yourselves. And remember, external teachers like me are here to inspire your internal teacher. Trust your internal teacher always. God is with you always. And remember, your higher self is always guiding you. All right? Blessings.